Something that's brought me joy this week, and I guess you would probably say the first week and a half of the playoffs, you sort of touched on it, Dan. The NBA youth movement is giving me life. I turned 40 this year. I'm feeling old. But the league is in good hands. Look at who we've got going in the playoffs right now. Number one, this could have been my entire joy piece. Anthony Edwards, 22 years old, looking like Michael Jordan. Nobody ever wants to say it, man. Everybody hedges their bets. They're like, I don't want to say it. I don't want to compare him to Michael Jordan. And then you watch what he does. You watch how he plays. You see the attitude he carries himself with. And it's irresistible to compare him to the greatest player of all time. The explosiveness, the takeover mentality. I think he scored 18 in the fourth quarter of Game 4 against the Suns, went 6 for 7 from the field. And I'm pretty sure his one miss was a two-handed dunk before he finally threw down the other one, where people are going deep into the archives to pull out which Jordan dunk this really looked like. It's awesome. Like, to get a text message from my dad saying, MJ, Kobe, Ant, do you see it? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I would throw Dwayne Wade in there instead of Kobe. Nonetheless, it's exciting to be watching this guy play, to see him take the leap as a leader and as a player, I think is awesome. Then you got the Thunder, led by Jalen Williams, 23 years old, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 25, Chet Holmgren, 21. And these guys look like steady vets right now. You got Jalen Williams hitting big shot after big shot and then showing up in the craziest hats you've ever seen. The Orlando Magic have Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, 21 and 22 years old, both putting up 30-plus points in must-win games for the Magic. And then you got old man Jamal Murray, 27 years old, throwing down on LeBron, hitting 2-game winners. You look at his feet, and he's wearing a pair of brown New Balances. I don't know about brown basketball shoes, but the kids are all right, man. They're amazing right now. I saw that this is going to be the first playoffs since 2005 that we don't have LeBron, KD, or Steph Curry in the second round. I was a senior in college. I literally know what I was doing in 2005. My friend Jerry ran a fake marathon. He lived like 20 miles away from the school. So he said, I'm going to run from my house to school. We called it the Jerathon. It was a huge party. It got written up in our school newspaper. I'm like, great. I'm glad to have documentation so I actually know what was going on way back when. It's an exciting time in the NBA.
I'm excited to look back 20 years from now and say, like, I know what was going on when Ant was on his ascent and all these guys were coming up. I was podcasting with Trey Kirby. So really, it's not a Jerathon really, winning. But we're all winning. Yeah, it's a Danathon, a different variety. It feels. I think the thing that's so interesting to me is that we wind up with these postmortems after teams lose, and happened after Phoenix lost, happened this morning, or not even this morning, like after the buzzer, basically after the Lakers lost last night. And we'll get into that. Where so much of it is focused on, like, well, what happens next for these titans of the game? And there's a way to look at that is like a somber, sad kind of thing, where it's like, well, we've watched these, the entire narrative arc of these guys, and where do they go from here? What's left really at the end for them? And I don't feel that at all right now, because I'm so enraptured by, like, all of the limitless possibility ahead of all of these young guys. And that's, before you even get into, the John Morant story is still going to be, resuming. Zion Williamson, it's criminal that he wasn't able to get on the court this season, but he looked like he was ready to go. Victor Wembanyama is going to insert himself into this conversation before too long. There's so much talent. There's so much youth. There's so much to be excited about. And the other stuff is fascinating and interesting too, like where Kevin Durant goes from here, where LeBron James goes from here. All of that is fascinating, and we will talk about those things. But I think you're right. Like, it feels like a season of renewal for the league in a way that is like, and maybe you don't want to say necessarily overdue. Like, I don't want to say like we need to be pushing these older guys out, but it does feel like it's time. It is time for something that is sort of fresh and renewable, and that has this big runway in front of it. And we're starting to get it.
Yeah, it's an exciting time, and I'm with you. It doesn't feel like we need to be pushing out the prime generation, the incredible generation that we saw through the 2010s. It just feels like it is happening, and I'm interested to see how that generation of LeBron, Curry, Durant, that era of player relates to this current generation that's on the way up, because the previous generation wasn't great, I don't think, to the LeBron, Curry, and KD generation, slamming them for taking too many threes, switching teams too many times. But I wonder if that will have an influence on those guys going forward, because you already see, like, Anthony Edwards talking about how much he loved watching Kevin Durant growing up. And then Kevin Durant saying on the flip side, That's my favorite guy to watch in the league right
Yeah.
now. You got Jamal Murray saying, I wore LeBron's jersey when I was a kid. And now he's putting LeBron out of the playoffs. I have to think that the generation that is on the way out is going to be much more generous and kind to the current generation right now.
Yeah, and we'll transition in a second, but that I wonder if that winds up being like arguably the most influential player of our generations was Allen Iverson, and for a lot of reasons, right? In terms of gameplay, in terms of the style off the court, the way he sort of represented a much larger cultural figure. He's also like the guy from that generation, him and Garnett to a certain degree, where it's like from the jump, from immediately after he was out of the league, he was giving everybody flowers and making sure like not to speak down about the guys that are younger than him, the guys that are coming up behind him. He's always shown love to all these guys, the Derrick Rose's, John Morant's, whoever, the guys coming up behind him, keep going. And I wonder if that's like a legacy point too. Like there's a couple of different roads you can take, and you can be a hater and you can say it was better back in my day and yada, 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 or you can be this appreciator of the game. And it does feel like so many more of these guys are in that more AI lane. And that would be, I think that would be a kind of cool rising tide lifts all boats thing to see this new generation of guys adopt that model as they move forward.